What is going on, bros and broettes? We are down here in beautiful sunny Florida. It's like 85 degrees. You jealous yet? And we've been catching some mondos. I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. You know, I thought we'd do a quick little video. One of the questions that I get messaged on, probably the most frequent, is guys coming to Florida, gals, kids, whatever. Maybe they're visiting Disney, maybe they're bringing their boat down, but they're basically going fishing. And Florida is its own country when it comes to fishing. It's its own sort of unique little body of water with all the grass, all the cover. And basically people are wondering, what do I need? Like, what's the basic gear? Hey, I only got 2 rods. What do I need? Hey, I got, a limited amount of gear I can bring down. What exact 2 baits would you throw almost anywhere in Florida? And so what we're going to do is 2 things. One, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 baits that, whether you're bank fishing or whether you're bringing your boat down to Florida, you absolutely need, and will cover a variety of circumstances, a variety of situations when it comes to Florida. And then for you guys who are doing things a little more in depth, maybe you're dragging your boat down, maybe you're coming down to fish with a buddy for a week or 2, a little more nuanced, a little more intricate sort of lure selection as well as combo selection, things that will cover you across the board, fishing probably 95% of the lakes in Florida. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I know a lot of you have asked about it. Hit that like and subscribe button and let's get to it. Numero uno. I highly recommend, first things first, brush up on your Spanish a little bit. It'll help you to get through Florida, and you might even be able to talk to some very beautiful women. So not a bad idea. So the 2 setups, say you're fishing the bank or from a boat, the 2 setups that I would 100% have, you guys aren't going to be surprised by it. It is a stick bait. You can see it's already got grass on it. This is a Gambler Fat Ace. One thing that's a little different though, compared to a lot of you guys up north, like a 5-inch or a 4-inch stick bait is usually standard. Down here, a 6-inch. This is the Fat Ace is a 6-inch stick bait. It's a little larger, and basically you want this on fluorocarbon 90% of the time. So I have 20-pound fluorocarbon right here. Not a super high speed reel, but a 721. This is a 7-foot medium heavy, anything from a 7 to a maybe 7.6, depending on like the amount of cover you're looking for, but usually like a 7-foot medium heavy, your standard operating rod will do. The biggest thing though, let me get that grass off there, is this guy right here. So Florida bass spawn shallow, right? This is an absolute killer for staging fish as well as spawning fish. And I highly recommend black blue tip. Literally the best color in Florida, especially when it comes to a stick bait like this Fat Ace. I run a 4-aught. This is an owner wide gap hook. And then this is a Hogtech tungsten. Now this is the big trick, 3/16. Ask JT, ask Shaw Grigsby, ask any of your big Florida names. Not a quarter, not an eighth, 3/16. 3/16 is a magic number when it comes to weighting your stick bait. It's perfect for fishing maybe a little deeper, 3 to 4 feet deeper, Florida. But at the same time, it's perfect for making long casts to super shallow objects and not creating too much of a splash and still being subtle. It's really sort of an all-purpose bait. You can drag it through grass, you can pitch it to holes, you can fish it on stalks, you can sight fish with it. It covers you in a million different contexts. Fishing it from the bank is super easy, but I highly recommend black blue tip. So the other one is this guy right here, and this is some variability. So basically you kind of choose based upon what you like. Number 1, braid. So this is 50 or 65 pound braid depending on what you like. This is actually a 7.3 medium heavy Halo XD3. You can do, if you like more of a heavy rod, you can do it on a 7.6, 7.3, whatever you want to do, just so it's a little bit stiffer but you still have a little bit of tip to play. So there's 2 baits. I know we're already giving you variability, but there's 2 baits I'd recommend, and let me key you into the concept. You want to be able to either cover water with them or fish a lot of this different grassy junk. So you want to be able to fish a little bit faster, but you need a bait that's versatile enough and heavy cover oriented enough to get through all this Florida grass. So I'd recommend 1 of 2 things. Either the Scum Frog Launch Frog, so it's a little bigger body frog, but it's soft. You can throw it Launch Frog, you can throw it a million miles, but it's perfect for fishing in the holes or through the grass. You can drag it. Now here's the trick in Florida though, and a lot of guys think, oh, we're always fishing super heavy grass. One thing that we do with a frog, because there is so much grass around, is sometimes we actually fish it around the edge. It's hard to throw a spook, or maybe you're surrounded by grass and you're throwing in these holes. It's hard to throw a spook or another like open hook topwater into those holes. So you actually need like a weedless topwater, and sometimes you don't even fish it in the grass. You fish it in the opening of the grass. And a floating frog, as you guys know, will do that walking sort of spook action. Florida bass love a spook, dude. absolutely love it. So when you get open water, you can throw it, but this is more of a four-wheel drive spook, and especially if you're bank fishing, like I know there's a bunch of ponds and stuff up by Disney, you know, there's trees on the side. The last thing you want to be doing is throwing an open hook lure and trying to like get it around some of that grass and be sneaky with it. This guy is snagless. It will come through the grass. You're not going to hang up. You can throw it into absolute junk and not worry about it. The other option, if you like fishing a little bit faster, and of course, you know, this has to be included. This is the Easy Swimmer. Now you could go with a Big Easy, but the Easy Swimmer, I think it comes in at like 5 inches, 4.5, a little bit smaller. This is Hammond's Herring, which is surprisingly, it's an awesome color down here. A little 1/16 ounce bullet weight, and then a bobber stopper right there. And I put a 5/0. This is an Owner Wide-Gap Plus, same as my worm hook, just a little bit bigger. 5/0 hook in there. It has a little more bite. What you'll find is when you hook a fish in this really super thick grass, that extra bite on the hook, it allows some of that grass to get wedged in there without the fish actually coming off. If you use a smaller O'Shaughnessy hook, it's a very small grab, and if you start getting grass kind of wedged in there, that can actually push the hook out. This gives you a little bit of operating room. The beauty of both of these baits, whether it's the Launch Frog or the Easy Swimmer, is you can cover these thick grass areas of water. So I can fling this around and run it through, say I got like a patch of grass, a piece, like a thing of open water, and then a whole thing of pads next to the bank, and I'm bank fishing. I don't got to worry about running this through there. I can buzz it, the tail's gonna bub, 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 right through all that stuff. Through the open water, you're gonna get that buzz bait action. Through that grass, it's gonna come super clean and kind of skitter and scatter and sort of deflect and do all that. Same with the Frog. Also, you can skip this too. A lot of times with bank fishermen, you know, you're kind of skipping around corners, you're skipping into trees. Both the Frog and the Easy Swimmer skip really well. So it allows you just versatility. You got that worm, the stick bait, the Fat Ace for the follow-up, and then you got these to kind of power fish your way through. Those are my top two baits when it comes to fishing. If you're doing any kind of fishing, bank or boat, have those tied up. I'm kind of laughing here because I smell like sunscreen. Like I reek of it, dude. It always reminds me of Florida smell like sunscreen. So let's get a little more nuance. You're bringing your boat down. You got a bunch of rods. You want like the full arsenal, bro. Like you want to be covered. So it's going to be a mix of heavier fluorocarbon, 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon, as well as 50 to 65 pound braid. That's the general when it comes to line requirements. Here's a couple more baits that I recommend if you have a few more options. This is a Gambler burner worm. Now this is the 6.5 inch or the 6-inch version. A lot of times guys will throw the bigger version. It's 7-inch. It's Mondo, dude. It's pretty darn big, but let me tell you, it gets bites. I have this once again on a 3/16 ounce weight, and then I have this set up on fluorocarbon. This is 20 pound fluorocarbon again. You have to kind of judge where you're fishing. You can throw it on braid, but because this is sort of like a casting, not so much super open water technique, but you're fishing it around grass, but it's usually like over grass or next to grass. I like running fluorocarbon with that clear bobber stopper. That's that 6 cents bobber stopper. Just adds a little more finesse to it. And then on this one, since it is around or over cover, that's an Owner just classic worm hook, just the O'Shaughnessy style, just your standard worm hook. I feel like I can fight the fish more with this thing in more of an open water context. If you're buzzing it over the grass, go to your braid in that. This is on a KS27, 7.2 medium heavy, standard rod, a little bit longer so I can make some longer casts. And all you're gonna do with this thing is reel it. I hate to say it this way, this is stupid fishing, but dude, it catches them. Literally, if you are a co-angler, this is a funny tip, if you are a co-angler in any BFL or any event down here, have this tied on. This and a stick bait, and then literally just throw the burner worm and reel it, and then throw the stick bait and drag it and shake it, and you will, I almost guarantee you will cash a check. It's one of those absolute standards that works every year for the past 20 some years, and it just kills it. This is actually kind of a cool color too. This is, what is it called? It's like a black purple swirl. A lot of the brim down here are very dark, and they have kind of like a dark black blue kind of look to them. Thus the reason that black blue tip Ace is so strong. But your darker colors, that's something that we can get into, but your darker colors in Florida. Green pumpkin, yes, not as many people throw it, but June bug, black and blue, your back at you, your swirl black and blues, swirl black and purples, absolutely killer. And I would be remiss, I love using JT's words, if I didn't mention a chatterbait, or in this case, a slobber knocker. So this is the Berkley slobber knocker. The reason I actually have this tied on is because it's slightly different. And one thing Guntersville has taught me is anything that's slightly different or a slight variation on the exact same thing that works awesomely is something to try on your lake. So this is a slobber knocker. I have it in like a green pumpkin, and then what I did is I love putting a little easy on it down here, or an easy swimmer. It's been a little bit chillier from time to time, so I've actually cut the tail off like Jacob Wells showed you once. I think Tactical Bassin does it too. I have this on 20-pound fluorocarbon once again, and my buddy hooked me up with an awesome reel. This is a Daiwa. I don't even know what it's called, dude, but it's like an elite Daiwa. It's a badass reel. Thank you. It's so cool, dude. So you gotta have a punching setup. Now, usually I'll have 2 punching setups. For example, this would be one. This is a 3/4 ounce Hogtech tungsten paired up with a Gambler burner craw. Once again, on a owner. This is a 4-aught wide gap plus. I have this on 65-pound braid, and this is a Halo XD3. It's a 7.6 heavy. Not extra heavy. People use too heavy rods these days, dude. This is an emergent cover setup. All this Kissimmee grass and stuff you see around me, cane, pads, anything emergent coming out of the water, even wood too. I like this. And surprisingly, a 3/4 doesn't actually fall that fast. You'd be surprised, but I can get a reaction bite out of it, and some of this thicker, really dense sort of emergent vegetation, I'm able to get through pretty easy, whereas a lot of guys are flipping a 1/2 or a 3/8, and they're really having to wiggle it through. And a day like today, the wind's blowing, it's a lot easier to get this 3/4 through. I get that reaction strike. I can always slow down. The other setup that I'll have, and I didn't get it out because you guys are going to know what it is, it's a 1.5. It's a mat punching setup. Usually that's more early time of year when it's a little bit colder, maybe November, December, or January, maybe early February. But it's for that punching through that sort of canopied cover, getting down, and really those fish get under there. Usually because they're cold and they want to warm up, or they're staging up to spawn. In north central Florida and maybe north Florida, they do use that kind of cover during the summer, as well as those mats, and that matted hydrilla comes up, or that floating stuff gets in like little corners and stuff and over deeper water, and they can use it to kind of protect themselves from the sun. So that's kind of like my 2 flipping setups. So there's all this rage about glide baits, right? And glide baits are pretty cool. I actually got one tied up, and it's something that I want to experiment more with in Florida as well as Guntersville. But you know, the OG glide bait is a fluke, dude. 100%. Like, and you can tag me all you want. I hate throwing a fluke, and I think I've told you that before. It's not my favorite, but it's probably one of the most fish-catchingest lures ever. But one variation that I did, and I whacked them on it last year out on Stick Marsh, is I've actually started throwing a Magnum fluke. This is a Zoom Magnum fluke. There's a lot of different variations. So what's really cool about this fluke is it embodies a couple different things that I know these Florida bass like, and also are kind of unique. They love a spook. We talked about that darting back and forth action. And obviously, I got a few buddies who have been smoking them on glide baits. They obviously like that gliding action. And both those things absolutely look like a shiner. Like the shiners, they dart back and forth. They'll skitter away if you've ever went shiner fishing. So I wanted to do some kind of old school traditional stuff, but put like a little twist on it. And this thing is badass, dude. And then I have this on a 7-foot medium heavy. It has just enough tip. It's the XD3. It's got a little softer tip. It's got just enough tip because all you're doing is basically walking it, but just underwater. And it has that gliding, darting motion, which is absolutely killer. I don't care if you're in Florida or anywhere. But since it's a little bit bigger, it looks just like a shiner, dude. And it's fun to throw because it's like throwing big baits. The other thing is too, versus a standard glide bait or a spook, you can rig this thing Texas rig. It's weedless, you know. It's also weightless, which is a big key to really triggering fish that are really tweaky, or you catch bedfish with this thing. It's kind of like a weightless rig. They always see a weightless stick bait, a weightless fat ace. This is a little different presentation, and it looks like a sort of fish trying to get in there and get on the bed. So it's absolutely killer, and you can fish it through a lot more stuff in comparison with some of those open hook glide baits. So this is a sneaky one to have in your arsenal if you're coming to Florida. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys got any questions or anything, I'll put links to all this stuff down at Tackle Warehouse or Monster Bass down in the description box so you can review it. But drop your recommendations if you got anything to add. I think that's a pretty good basic set of lures as well as setups to have if you're coming down. You got your simple, you know, your 2 setups, do anything, cover anything, and then you got your stuff that's a little more in depth if you're looking to spend some time down here and fish a bunch of different bodies of water and really kind of go deep and try to catch that Magnum Florida bass. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you back out on the water. Make sure to stay tuned for some of these Mondo Florida bass videos.